8 athletes, 1 final, and a field that genuinely had no clear favorite going into the blocks. This is the women's 100 meters hurdles final at the 2017 European Under-23 Championships in Bydgoszcz, Poland. And the starting lineup reads like a who's who of the next generation of European hurdling. Elvira Herman of Belarus, the reigning world Under-20 champion with a 12.93 personal best. Hungary's Luca Kozák, consistent and aggressive through every qualifying round. Finland's Norlata Naziri, a returning medalist from the previous edition of these championships. And the Netherlands' Nadine Visser, who had spent years collecting near misses at major junior championships, building quietly towards something. The wind would read plus 2.3 meters per second, just over the legal limit, but the conditions were equal for everyone. What happened in the next 12+ seconds made analysts re-watch the race frame by frame. There is a specific moment after the 4th hurdle where the shape of the race changes in a way that is almost invisible at full speed. Almost. Watch closely from the gun and pay attention to what each athlete does between barriers 4 and 5.
One 100-meter hurdles women final.
Well, the favourite for this bronze medalist 2 years ago. Seeing Rita Hirsch of Finland. Olympia Barbosa, who set 2 personal bests in both the heats and the semi-finals, to be here in the final. This is Luca Kozák. She's run 13:10 this year. She's in good form. Last year's World Under-20 champion, Elvira Herman. Lower on the left. Improved to 13:04 recently at the European Athletics Team Championships. Now here's the winner, as I said, of the bronze medal 2 years ago at these championships. There's a chance to move up the podium. Elena Jiranova has been running very well in the heats, just outside of personal best. And in the outside, in lane 9, will be Yasmin Miller. Fourth at the World Junior Championships, as they were, now called the World Under-20 Championships in 2014. And really settle into the blocks from the inside. Perska, Finland, Barbosa, Portugal, Kozák, Hungary, Herman, Belarus, Valette, France, Visser, Netherlands, Jiranova, Czech Republic, and Miller of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Well, Kozák has a very good start here. She's running extremely well, but Visser now really starting to motor over the second half of the race. Herman on her inside, she's trying to get up to her, but no, Visser is going to be the champion. 12:92 unofficially, 2.3 meters per second following wind. Herman, Belarus, well, after a gold medal at the World Under-20s, she gets the silver at the European Under-23s. Well, after so many bronze medals, Nadine Visser has got bronze medals also from the World Under-20 Championships in 2014. Finally, she'll stand on top of the podium. European champion. And Kozák, after that great start, hangs on to take the bronze medal. Zoo away very well. Miller on the outside, Hershker on the inside. But then from 4 hurdles into the race, once she really starts snapping down her legs off the barriers, really getting into a rhythm, it's Nadine Visser Herman had a relatively poor start, but comes back so strongly over the course of the second half of the race. Very, very smooth hurdling, though, from Visser. So it's Netherlands, Belarus, and Hungary. That's the 1, 2, 3. Valette, well, it all goes horribly wrong for Valette in the early part of the race, and never in contention, as you can see. Confirmation of the results. Well, just a little bit too windy for personal bests, but Nadine Visser 12.92, Elvira Herman 12.95, and Luca Kozák
12.92 seconds. That was the number on the clock in Bydgoszcz when the dust settled over the finish line. But here is what makes that number strange. The athlete who ran it was not the reigning world champion, was not the pre-race favorite on paper, and had spent most of her young career collecting bronze medals. So how did Nadine Visser turn a pattern of near misses into a European title? The answer lives in a single technical window, roughly 4 meters of track between hurdles 4 and 5, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it in any hurdles race you watch from this point forward. The 2017 European Under-23 Championships brought together a field that genuinely deserved the word dangerous. Elvira Herman of Belarus had arrived as the reigning world under-20 champion, running 12.93 seconds at that level, a performance that signals genuine senior potential, not junior dominance. Hungary's Luca Kozák had posted 13.10 through the rounds, consistent enough to suggest she would not fade. Finland's Norrlotta Naziri was a returning medalist from the previous edition. The field carried real depth across all 8 lanes. The wind reading for the final came in at plus 2.3 meters per second, just above the legal limit of plus 2.0. Wind assistance at that margin adds roughly 2 to 3/100ths of a second to a performance over 100 meters of hurdles. It removes the result from the record books in a technical sense, but it does not remove the tactical and biomechanical story the race tells. If anything, it strips away the time chasing and forces us to look at execution. Who moved best? Who solved the race? Pay attention to what happens after the 4th hurdle. That is where this video lives. The reaction phase went cleanly. No false starts, no hesitation. Kozák cleared her blocks in approximately 0.148 seconds, sharp for this level, and her drive phase off the line was aggressive. By the time she reached the 1st hurdle, she had established a visible lead in her lane. Her attack angle on the lead leg was steep and direct, generating clearance without the wasted arc that costs time at the top of the barrier. On the outside, Yasmin Miller of Great Britain showed early intent. Herman, in contrast, left the blocks in a fraction under 0.155 seconds. Not a slow reaction, but not the race-opening punch Kozák delivered. She entered the 1st barrier slightly behind the leaders. Here is where most hurdles races are decided before anyone in the stadium realizes it. The distance between hurdles in the women's 100 meters, hurdles is 8.5 meters. Elite hurdlers cover that gap in 3 strides. At championship pace, each of those strides lasts roughly 0.21 seconds. That means the entire inter-hurdle phase, 3 contacts, 3 propulsive forces, 1 clearance approach, takes approximately 0.63 to 0.67 seconds. Errors compound fast. A trail leg that swings wide adds rotational drag. A lead foot that lands short of its optimal contact point breaks the rhythm. A torso that tips forward on clearance costs you hip position on the next stride. The margin for mechanical error is measured in centimeters and milliseconds. What is most surprising about this race is not that Kozák led through the opening barriers. It is that her technical advantage there was already eroding before most viewers noticed. She was running fast, but fast and efficient are not the same thing at this distance. Her stride pattern between hurdles 3 and 5 began to widen slightly at the base, a sign that her ground contact time was creeping upward under the muscular load of maintaining pace. This is the trap hidden inside a strong early lead. Speed costs energy, and energy is finite across 10 barriers and the flat run-in. Put yourself in a rival's position for a moment. You are behind by 2/10 at hurdle 4, but the leader is already spending what you are saving. Visser's trail leg mechanics in the middle phase of this race are worth isolating. A technically sound trail leg clears the hurdle close to horizontal, snaps down rapidly, and lands in a position that immediately feeds into the next stride's push-off. The knee drive forward should feel continuous rather than interrupted by the barrier. What Visser produced from hurdles 4 through 7 was close to textbook. Clearance height minimal, roughly 8.4 centimeters above the 84 centimeter barrier, trail leg rotation tight, and her upper body remained nearly vertical through the clearance. No forward lean that would have shifted her center of mass over the next landing foot prematurely. Her inter-hurdle cadence held at approximately 4.7 ground contacts per second in this phase, which is the kind of number that does not come from talent alone. It comes from technical repetition under fatigue. So here is the question worth sitting with at this point. Herman was a world junior champion. She had demonstrated the ability to run 12.93 seconds on the biggest stage available to her. Why did that not translate into a lead at the decisive phase of this final? The answer is not fitness, it is sequencing. A race like this does not reward the athlete who peaks at hurdle 2. It rewards the athlete who has enough mechanical reserve to accelerate between hurdles 7 and 10. Herman began closing the gap after hurdle 6. Her stride lengthened, her clearance became more powerful, but she was spending saved energy to close ground rather than extending a lead. The physics of that distinction matter. Closing requires more output per meter than leading, because the trailing athlete must exceed the leader's velocity, not match it. Here is what this tells us about hurdling at the under-23 level specifically. The gap between World Junior form and Senior Championship execution often shows up not in top speed, but in the ability to sustain mechanical quality in the final quarter of the race. Hurdles 8, 9, and 10 are where the race resorts itself, and they are where coaching investment in late-race technical discipline pays out. This was not Visser's fastest race on paper, it was her most controlled race under pressure. Across the line, Visser at 12.92, Herman at 12.95, Kozák at 13.06. The margin between gold and silver was 0.03 of a second, less than one inter-hurdle phase. Kozak's bronze, under legal conditions, would likely have represented a personal best. She ran a real race. She just ran it at the wrong end of the sequence. What does this teach you about watching hurdles in any future final? Watch the trail leg from hurdle 4 onward. Watch whether the inter-hurdle stride pattern compresses or holds. Watch the torso. If it tips forward on clearance, the athlete is fighting for position rather than flowing through the race. The athlete who controls those 3 details in the second half almost always controls the result. Speed gets you to hurdle 5. Mechanics win the last 5. Comment below. Which technical element do you think is hardest to maintain under championship fatigue? The trail leg, the stride pattern, or the torso position? No wrong answer, and it is a debate worth having. If this kind of breakdown is what you come here for, subscribe. There is more of this: reaction time analysis, phase-by-phase tactics, the biomechanics underneath results that look simple from the stands but are anything but. Like this video if the trail leg is something you will never stop watching. And if you want the next breakdown the moment it drops, the bell is right there.